Hello, and thank you guys for joining the D Hope podcast. This is the inaugural episode. So we are so glad that you're here with us. It is May the 4th, so may the 4th be with you, as they
Yes.
say in the Star Wars world.
Yes.
So we just say thank you and welcome. We thank you for Jamie Crain, who is joining Hope and I today. Hope Wilson, I'm Donna Ware, and we are your host of the D Hope podcast. So this is a
The Dope
podcast.
podcast.
Yes, because it's dope, right?
Yes.
Yes. I love it. So it is, we are here to highlight the hope of recovery. So we're displaying stories, unfiltered, uncut, just raw, stories about the addiction journey and the journey of recovery. And there's so many pathways to recovery. So we just want to talk with people about their pathway. We want to talk to people who have dealt with family members that have been in addiction, or into just whatever recovery, because recovery just doesn't pertain to drugs and alcohol, right? Like there's other things that you can be recovering from. So we just want to highlight more of the recovery paths so that more people can have the opportunity to walk in recovery. And so I just want to turn it over. At this time, we're going to have a chat with Miss Jamie Crain, who is an amazing person. But we're going to let her tell you how amazing she is. So just tell us, Jamie, like what it was like growing up.
Growing up was pretty rough because I encountered sexual abuse when I was 9. My mom's husband at the time, he was very abusive to her, and I seen way, way more than any child should ever have to see. So I just grew up broken because I didn't deal with the sexual abuse properly. I just buried it deep down, and so it later haunted me. I didn't know how to love. I didn't know how to trust people. I was just very angry.
Yes, I can relate to that. It is a situation that can harm you much, especially when it's because it's a traumatic experience, and especially if it goes undealt with. Um, like you said, properly, it wasn't proper. You weren't properly equipped to handle it. So how did you get into addiction?
It's after I got married. I was, like I said, I was broken and just a very unhappy person. I always walked around with a smile, but I just, all that past was haunting me. I tried to get married and I just, I didn't know how to love. And so I just got into pain pills after I had my first child, and it just spiraled out of control from there.
And
So I
Did
from
thought,
you have, go ahead.
no, you go.
Did you have any addictive behaviors as a child? I'm curious. After
I'm not,
you experienced that sexual trauma, did you have anything not regarding to drugs, but did that spark something or a behavior
no,
prior to you getting married? Or did
not
it just like stay buried until it just exploded?
it pretty much stayed buried until it exploded. I went to counseling, but I still wouldn't talk to him when I was a kid. So I just, I don't know.
You did, okay. So you were in counseling, but it was just one of those things that you just kept buried,
Yeah,
all those years.
yeah. And then after all that happened, I had to go and go to court and sit on trial and testify and all that. And so I think after that, just pretty much shut down. Like that's why I have such a fear of like stage fright, I guess. I don't know. But then my dad took me from my mama, so I had to grow up, you know, without her until I was 16. I moved to Tennessee to be with her. So it was rough growing up.
So when
So
all
the
of yeah,
yeah
when all of that
the
happened,
yeah, the trial, when you had to go, sit through the trial and everything, but did you continue in counseling after that?
Well, I did. Uh, I think I remember going to counseling, but I just wouldn't talk to them. That's what I meant. I didn't deal with it properly. I
Right.
just had, I could run from it.
Were you not comfortable with like the counselor that you had at the time, or was it just easier to keep it
It was just
bottled?
not to talk about it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And Hope,
But
you
then
had a question.
foundry, I had to go to the foundry so I could deal with all that. Because that was the root of my addiction. And so I just wanted to free myself from it.
Yeah, I was just because I knew that you had experience. I guess we should say that me and Jamie, or Jamie and I, went to the foundry together.
Yeah.
Jamie was actually the first person that I met when I walked in the doors. And so we have been friends for, I guess 5 years now.
Yeah, almost 5 years. It'll be 5
Mhm.
that I went. August 27th, 2019.
Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah. 5 years. Oh my goodness. That's amazing.
Hmm.
Um,
That is amazing. I'm
yeah.
proud of you.
Yes, I am too. Like, clap it up for Jamie
Yes.
and Hope for 5 years.
Yes.
Yes.
Going to
I love
rehab
it.
easy part, but then when I was in there, I got served with those papers to terminate my rights to my children for not paying child support for 4 consecutive months. Then when I graduated my program, I came home, fought that in court and lost because that's a Tennessee law. It don't matter how good you're doing, your rights can still be terminated. And then the very next January, like exactly a year, I lost my children and my mother. My mother died from congestive heart failure. So it's been a struggle, but I'm doing.
Yeah. Yeah, you are. So tell us like some of the tools that you maybe gained while you were at the foundry that helped you through the those two, because those both were great losses, the loss of your children,
Mhm.
your parental rights, and the loss of your mom. So like what was if there what did you learn that helped you to not turn back um to substance use?
Well, I learned how to deal with my problems and talk to people. That way I don't go back down the wrong paths. And I lost everything to drugs, even my children. So it makes me not want to go back that path because I hope one day as they get older, they'll come back to me. And I just want to keep doing the best I can until that day comes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And of course, God, He's my best friend. So,
Yes. I honestly, when you experience tremendous loss like that, I don't know how uh people that don't necessarily believe in God, how they make it through the transition like that. Um, Especially when it's piled like that, like within such a short time of experience and great loss. So that's a real testimony to your connection with him, your relationship with him.
yeah. I'm just a fighter. I don't give up easy. Well, I don't really give up ever, but now now that I'm sober, I can't go back down that bad path. I've worked way too hard to, come out on top.
Absolutely. And like you
Yes.
said before, like knowing the losses that you've taken
Hmm.
from having been in an addictive state. And I, sometimes I know people think that with people who have substance use disorder, that it's a matter of, oh, they can just stop when they want to. It's like, no, it's it's not that easy,
Yeah,
you
that's
know,
not the
like,
case.
yeah, like if it was, like you
Mhm.
would after the first hit, you know what I'm saying, of after you lost something great, you know what I'm saying, like it would,
Mhm.
for a lot of people, all it would have taken maybe was DHR even just being called. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And that kept, so it's a much deeper issue, and much deeper issues going on. The substance is a byproduct of
Yes.
of of the real issues. It's just masking what's
Mhm.
underneath, you know, is the real reality of it. And if we, you know, maybe if we took the time to get to know people, you know,
It's
ask a
just,
couple of
amen.
questions. You know, like what's really going on, what happened, you know, like what
Yeah.
happened
Yes.
that caused this behavior, then we might have better outcomes, you know, for people. More people would be experiencing 5 years, you know, of being
I agree.
sober. Yeah.
Well, I
so
mean,
so
another hard part of all of it is, you know, I haven't seen my kids. Well, it'd be 5 years at the end of this month. I haven't got to see their faces or, you know, hear their voice or nothing like that. And I didn't even get to see them or hear from them when I was in rehab. I wrote letters and cards and, you know, I tried to do what was right, but
mhm,
it just didn't work out in my favor.
yeah, and the fact that you didn't quit
Yeah.
even because it didn't work out, you know, in your favor, and that you
Dear.
continue to do what you knew was the right thing to do for you.
Yeah.
um you know, and in the long run, I 100% believe that it you will see the fruit of your labor in that sense.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so tell us about more about your time at the Foundry.
Well, I was scared to death. Scared like 50 pounds, you know, and I rolled up and I was like, whoo, I don't know. I think I'm gonna get out and run because I was scared, but it's definitely a good location, so you don't think you're running. I know that.
Well, explain more about this location because people don't. They hear about. They don't understand. Go more into where the Foundry is located.
Well, I like to tell people down in the, you know, like you hear gunshots all the time, and people's like, "Oh, is that fireworks?" No, honey, that is guns. You know, like you don't want to go out them gates at nighttime.
Right, exactly.
It's the best location, I will say that. But so when I got there, I decided, you know, I'm just going to be sweet like I am and try to be encouraging and help people, you know, like Hope, she was about ready to run out the door. I knew that the moment but being a dorm, what helped me, I think.
You were awesome, Jamie. You were. If it hadn't been for you, I probably would have ran.
Yeah, I don't know. I enjoyed my time there though. You know, I uh I like being somebody that people looked up to, and I wasn't a mean dorm leader. You know, I try to do it with grace and mercy.
You did. You
Really
did.
good.
You were great.
Thank you.
You were. You're loving, very loving and encouraging. And
Yeah.
that's what people need in an environment where you're trying to heal. You need someone who understands and can be there to listen. I mean, how many times did we sit out and just, laugh and talk, but also there are times when, more serious matters were going on. For instance, when you got served papers or when I got served my divorce papers. I don't know if you were there that time, but I mean, just there's things that happen that go on that we needed each other.
Yeah. It's a
Hmm.
very good place. I try to encourage people, you know, that who are still in addiction or whatever, you know, that's a good place to go because like you'll never go somewhere that where, you know, where people show you so much love And you do need that.
Mhm.
And I
Yeah.
like that you guys had, like you guys were able to develop a friendship, but also like that you have a sisterhood,
Yeah.
of people who you can have the support when if you're being served divorce papers or served papers with to terminate your parental rights, because none of that is easy.
Right.
None of that, without having been through being dependent on a substance for a period of time, to go through that while you're actively seeking recovery, and you didn't run, like like
Yeah.
that's super
Right.
commendable. That because that alone could have caused you to say, what, well, if they're thinking of doing this, of terminating my rights, why don't I just throw all caution to the wind, which sometimes happens. But I think shining light on stories like yours uh gives another level of hope to people who,
Mhm.
like, well, if she, if she could beat that, be served papers to terminate parental rights, and she still stayed with it, she still stayed the course, and then 5 years later she's still doing great, hey, I might be able to do that too.
Yeah.
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 I commend you for it.
Thank
Yes.
I do.
You're
I don't know.
welcome.
I don't mean I would like to think that, but I don't know how I would have handled something like that.
Well,
That's why I say you're the strongest person I know.
when I got served those papers, do y'all know where I was? I was in the middle of a counseling session with Miss Chris when Miss Tawana knocked on the door. I was like, you gotta be kidding me. But God has you where you need to be for a situation
Mhm.
like that. Because if I'd been any,
Yeah.
I would have ran.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So like he had you stationed right there,
Yeah.
exactly like in your counselor's office, where you
Yeah.
definitely, needed to be
Mhm.
with getting news such as that. So like I just love how he loves us so much,
Yeah.
and he can, like, because he knew May 4th, 2024 was coming.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
Absolutely.
he knew that then,
Yeah.
and so like he sees way farther ahead than we can ever see,
Mhm.
knows way more than we'll ever know, even about ourselves. So that's why I 100% love, I pray first, before I
Mhm.
do anything,
Mhm.
because I'd rather have his guidance than not.
Yeah.
Amen.
Yeah, I've lived without his guidance, and that was,
Mhm.
for lack of a, that was, it sucked, for lack of a better
Yeah.
term.
It's chaotic.
Yes, very chaotic.
Mhm.
Lived a very, very reactive
Yes.
type of a lifestyle. Was never
Mhm.
proactive in anything. In
Right.
anything. Yeah, was just completely reacting to everything, and that's just not a good place to live, because you're constantly on edge with that, because you're constantly waiting for the shoe to drop, so that you can
Mhm.
react. But yeah, that's not a super place. So tell me, what a day in the life of Jamie looks like now.
Well, I have to be at work at 5 in the mornings, so I get up at 3. Well, usually about 2:45, honestly, and I try to get my devotions in and spend my time with God, listen to my worship music, because like that's a big part of my day because it really does make your days better.
Mhm.
But then I go to work all day. I try to be encouraging. They say I'm like sunshine at work. I don't know, but
You always have been. I love that so much. It makes me
Yeah.
happy to hear it.
yeah, I've been there at my job almost 4 years. Well, August will be 4 years for that. So, and I had a Hispanic lady, one of my good friends, the other day say, "You've been here 4 years, and look all the people you love." And I said, "Well, thank you."
Aw,
Yeah.
Yeah,
So yeah,
absolutely.
I just work and mind my business and go home. try to be responsible, pay my bills, and, you know, I got a pretty boring life, but I'm okay with that.
It doesn't sound boring. Sounds pretty fulfilling.
Yeah.
You know,
Then I go to church on Sundays. I look forward to that. I love my little church family. They stuck by me the whole time I was in rehab, sent me mail, so
yeah.
I never thought I would be saying that I've been in church these last, 4 years that I've been home from rehab, but I never dreamed I'd be saying that. But I love going to church.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that's good. And that's funny that you should say, I never dreamed that I would be saying that.
Yeah.
It is fun to serve the Lord. Like that's growing up, I didn't like I knew I was taught how to go to church, so I went because that's what I was taught to do. But I never really saw it as like just fun either. It was just what you did,
Just kind of
like
went.
yeah, just kind of went because that's what you were supposed to do.
That's what mom said you're doing, and that's what you did.
Yeah, so that's what you did. But never, and like having now that I have the relationship that I have with Christ, it is fun, like you can there because there's freedom. Like it's fun that I can remember. Like it's a literal fun that I can remember because I'm sure you guys may know we thought we was having some fun, maybe with a substance was involved, but then you don't quite remember anything from it's not much you remember from that maybe, or if you do, it probably is not. When you look back on it, it's like, I don't think that was too much fun.
I don't think it was too much fun. I've been there probably 5, 6 times, in my addiction. It's not no place for me,
I don't think it's a place for nobody.
I mean, I don't think it's a place for anybody, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yes. So tell us about those experiences of encountering the law.
Not too good, not for DUIs anyway, So my first DUI I ever got, I got it dropped down to reckless driving. So I was like, oh, okay, I can do this more. I'm good. So I got my other one in 2015, and that's when I lost custody of my children. And so it really, the meth and the pain pills is where the meth really is where my life spiraled out of control. I just started stealing pills and drugs and just whatever, from whoever, even my own family. But they still love me. Thank God.
Yes.
So yeah, good time in my life.
How long were you in active addiction? Because you said you started after you had your kids.
Well,
So how long were you in active addiction to where we all have that moment where we realize, okay, this is like out of control, like I can't do this anymore. I mean, and we continue doing it, but what was that moment when you were like, I'm in trouble here because I can't stop?
well, I experimented a lot. Well, not too much, but in high school and whatnot. But that happy feeling that the pain pills give me, what's that word? Euphoria.
Euphoria.
Yeah. That I guess that's when I knew I was in trouble, right when it first started. But I remember my daughter, she was like 5 at the time, maybe. And, I had got my second DUI with her in the vehicle with me. So, but I spent about 10 years altogether in addiction. But that's not a proud mama moment for me, like her being there and being old enough. And so she had sent me some messages right at like June of 2019 and told me that I wasn't a good mama and just all this hurtful stuff. And that was really the turning point for me. Like, I've got to get out of this because I'm going to end up losing my children altogether, you know. And so I really, now that I step back, those messages were very hurtful, but I'm glad she sent them, because that's really what made me put myself in the foundry. You know, I tell people I wasn't court ordered or nothing. I signed myself up before I even told my mom, my stepdad, or anybody. But my real father, he died in 2018. So really, I tried to start getting my life together better, you know, after he died. But it took me a little while, but I finally got in there. So yeah.
Well, I'm so
Well,
glad that you made that decision, you know, to come in, because that's, I mean, that I don't think that's an easy decision for someone to make.
No.
Especially, yeah.
Oh, took me 2 hours to call the foundry. I was scared to death, but it was really the easiest thing I ever did.
yeah.
Yeah. And any, I mean, at any, when you're taking yourself out of what you've known, you know, for, like you said, that was a 10 year stretch for you, what of what you knew. And what I've learned about um when a person becomes addicted to meth, it is, number one, it's highly addictive. Number two, that's, it takes over your prefrontal cortex. So where your decision making is housed, your logic is housed, your reasoning is housed there. It completely takes that out of the equation. So now only the pleasure part of your brain is running. So that's why that's the only thing you're looking for. It's the only thing that, you know, that matters at that point, because the amount of dopamine that's released once you use that particular drug, it's, I think, let's say the number is like 1,200 times more
It's
than what our brain.
extremely high.
Yeah.
It's
um
excessive. You will never reach that
yeah.
amount.
Yeah, like
Never.
yeah, of what our brain can actually
Yeah.
handle. And so it just wipes out all of your ability
Mhm.
to reason, or to make sound decisions. So that's why it's not, you know, just to say, oh well, just get a, you know, why won't they just stop it, you know? Or at some points people are like, well, why can't they love their children enough to stop? It has
Mhm.
nothing to do with that. Like, yeah.
Exactly. Because you love your children. It's not in the matter of I was told that too. And it would hurt because I was like, you just don't understand. Of course I love my children. Because it's like you said, it takes over your brain and your ability to make sound decisions. It's not that you want to continue in that cycle. That's what I wish people would understand, is that you don't wake up one day and want to be a slave to a substance, well, and like we said, we're talking about different thing of recovery. So any aspect of our lives that we wake up and we're obsessive about, or then we're not actively choosing that in a sense, because there's something that's taken over our brain.
Yeah. So it is not easy to make that decision to say, like, hey, you know what,
So I
I
commend
I
you,
don't want to do
Jamie, because
this.
for you to be able to make that decision and call and actually check yourself in, that's a strength and a willingness. And if you don't and that, maybe that's why you have 5 years clean, because you had that willingness, and
Yeah.
you had that surrender, and you've lived it out, and you continue to live it out. I like what you said of like how you still wake up and you still start your day with God. And I believe that's why you're still walking in freedom, and that's why you're walking in the blessings you're living now.
Well, thank you.
Absolutely. I 100% agree.
Mhm.
100% agree, because like we having structure to your life brings a when you have that structure and you have purpose, like you have, I'm getting up and I'm going to work and I'm going to, to make provisions, for me to be able to live and to do. In whatever way you do that, it's not always, somebody going to a job where they might get monetarily compensated. Maybe if they're getting monetarily compensated in other ways, volunteering somewhere. It's just that you have a purpose for living. Like we have to find that reason to live. I think oftentimes when addiction occurs, it's just that it's a hopeless, it's a hopeless state. Because somewhere along the way life got rocky. Something happened to cause the behavior that leads to addiction, because we know, like, our emotions, like our beliefs drive our emotions drive our behaviors. So we can't always, it's not good for us to just look at the behavior of a person and then make assumptions. It's what happened, going back to that, what happened, something happened that, you're doing what you're doing. Often I have talked with people and they, I've heard the statement, oh, I just started using because I wanted to. I'm like, okay, so you when you wanted to do this, you counted the cost of potentially you losing your home, your car, your job, your kids, your spouse, any of the other relationships, and that's what you said, all right, that's what I'm doing. No, you did not.
Sign me up.
You did.
I'm ready for a challenge.
Yeah, let me do it. Like, no, you didn't. You did not do that.
Right.
It's like, well, no, I didn't. Okay, well, let's really get to the bottom of what caused this, because it was something.
Right.
And even though you might be trying to run from it, like, like Jamie mentioned earlier, how she had the counselor, but just the counselor couldn't couldn't get to that part, of life. And I too have had those times, Jamie, where I think I went for like 30 years not talking to anybody about anything that hurt me in any kind of way, shape, form, or fashion. And my life was very screwed up because of it. And I tell people, I was like, don't hide from yourself. Like,
oh, that's good.
That's
good.
Yes, get real with you. If you can't, if you can be honest with you, you can be honest with anybody else. Because the reality is, what harmed us harmed us. Like, it already happened. It's nothing we can do about it. We can't go back and change it. But what we can do is learn how to respond to it, because the reaction that we had to it didn't lead us anywhere but down a dark hole.
Yeah.
That's good. I'm getting a counseling session right now. Every time I talk to Miss Donna, I leave. I'm like, well, she's just so good with words. Thank you, Lord, for allowing her to be a part of my life.
Well, I appreciate you. I appreciate you.
But you do. I agree though. I feel like once, and I'm sure Jamie can attest to this, is that when you're able to finally become like real and honest with yourself, and what happened in your life, what was triggering those behaviors, and how, and then you have to look at how your part in it and how you want to change. And when you do that, then that's when that shift begins to happen. Because Jamie, what was that when, I mean, there's a process when you get to the foundry, and when I just feel like that change happens when you say, okay, this, and that may have happened when you called. I don't know. When you were just like, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to give God everything. And what was that? Was that in the phone call you made prior to the foundry, or was that like a moment while you were there that you just decided?
So I decided during the phone call too, but so I ran from my sexual abuse for about 30 years. And so I was terrified of that man, you know, and I was terrified for my mama because he said if he ever got out, he would kill her. And so I'm not kidding when I say this. I was there for 3 days, and my stepdad now he calls and leaves me a message to call home, and I was like, oh no, And so the people from Georgia courthouse had actually called to let us know that he was eligible for parole. And my very next day at the foundry, I met Miss Chris. And so I had to go in there. Like, I just ran into her office. Instead of running from it, I said, yep, I'm going to write this letter, and get this ball rolling. And really, about my third or fourth day there, I found so much freedom because I actually got to work through it. God had me where I needed to be, because if I would have got that phone call out here somewhere, I would have ran big time. But yeah, so it really about my third or fourth day there, I felt so much freedom because I had already worked through some of it.
Yeah.
It was the best. I just love her.
Yes, she's a
Are you
sweet
still in
lady.
contact with her?
Yeah,
I figured.
I heard Donna come up to court when I had to go over my children. They come as my character witnesses. I was like, wow, that's amazing for them to drive all the way from down there to Tennessee. But yeah, I love both of them so much.
And that just goes to
Yes.
show you, though, recovery it's not really the place. I mean, we keep saying the foundry, and obviously the foundry's a rehab that you and I both went to, because the people will hear this and be like, what's the foundry? It was a treatment facility in Bessemer, Alabama that we both attended. But the real recovery is, I always say, it's not the place, although of course, I love it. I've received healing there, but it wasn't it was actually, I feel like, God and the community that I had while I was there that helped me.
Yeah.
It was people in my life. It was Miss Donna. I mean, it was you. It was, the sisters, our girls that we had there, that we, carried each other, when days were hard. And then we laughed when we had nothing else to do but work at the thrift store and and go about our lives.
Yeah.
So tell a funny story. We've been talking about like some kind of deep topics. But do you have anything that's just funny, or a memory that
At the foundry?
at the foundry, or yeah, wherever you want to
My
share?
my favorite that time that girl peed on you in the van.
Oh my goodness.
What? What? Wait, what?
That was priceless.
What happened
That
there?
was priceless.
That's just what came to my mind when you said that. You can tell the story though.
You can tell it. You can tell
I
it.
gotta hear this.
Go ahead, Hope.
Well, I don't know. Okay, I always feel like I'm not a great storyteller. I can write it, but telling it, I just don't feel like I'm that great. But I'll just say parts of it. So there was this girl there, and we had went on a little field trip to the lake. And I don't know how to say this on she was just different. And well, on the way back, all of a sudden, she were you sitting beside me, Jamie? I
I
think you
was,
were sitting. You tell it, Jamie. I'm terrible at saying
I
these.
never had when. I just know that we kept having to stop because of her, and
Well, she kept yeah. She was just calling just some attention. It was like attention seeking, like everything had to be like she just wanted to make a statement. And so we had just stopped. She asked to stop again. And Cindy actually was driving, and we are like, we can't stop again. Like, we're being monitored at this point. I mean, they have a ping on the van. You can't just stop the vehicle whenever you feel like it. um, and so Jamie was sitting beside me, and all of a sudden, like we turn around, and she has her pants down, and she's squatting, and she's using the restroom, peeing all in the back of the van. And then everybody, and I'm like, this is not happening right now. But that's not the bad part. She had a thing against me. I always say that she just had this look in her eyes like that was crazy. Well, she walked up and she took her hand and just wiped it all the way on me. And I just was not very happy.
I can see why you wouldn't be.
So we ended up stopping the van, obviously, and I was just like, "Oh my god, I know you just did not." Da, 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 da.
Oh my
With
gosh.
little curse words in there.
Well,
But that I forgot about that.
it's memories because you mad.
I was furious. Well, she put her nasty pea hand all over me.
yeah,
I was mad.
it's a little odd and off-putting.
Yeah, I was just
So I
like, this
take
is
that.
uncalled for.
I kept
It really was.
I kept having to call her because the girl kept wanting to stop, and she was like, "Tell her you're not stopping no more." And so that's after I told her we wasn't stopping no more. But yeah, we've had some good times.
Yeah, we did. She didn't stay much longer after that event.
Yeah, you
But
can't.
she
Yeah.
had she had many things that, and that happens though when you have I guess, a group of women living, 50 back then. Well, was it 50? No, that was a smaller amount. But when you have a large and you have women who are coming from all different aspects of life with various mental disorders, and substance use, and you're putting them under one roof, you're going to have um, entertaining stories.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm more later, but I can't think of no more right now.
Yeah, there was quite a few. But I feel like, yeah, I'm definitely not the best at storytelling. I'm sure Cindy or somebody could probably have told that story better, but y'all get the gist. It was not pleasant.
But I think that story was priceless.
um, but
Yes.
that was good times. It's funny as we were laughing about that. But yeah, it was good to have a good community of women around because we did laugh a lot.
And you need that.
Mhm.
The Bible talks about how laughter is good for, is good medicine. So like, it's all encompassing. And like you were saying before, hope that it's not the place,
Mhm.
like that you go to. It's what you choose to do while you're in that
Mhm.
space.
Yes.
Because willingness is a huge part of it. Like
Mhm.
nobody can make you do anything. You have to be willing to number one, take the help that's being offered, and then do whatever it takes for you to become the new person. Because like recovery is not just about being a refurbished person, like, oh, I just want to get back to who I used to be. No, like it's learning a whole new you. It's a brand new you you're learning. And that's the same way with when we experience loss of a loved one. Our life is not going to be the same. And it's no sense in us trying to make it be the same, because it's not. Like, and I think that's one of the things that harms us when we are experiencing grief and loss from a loved one that's close to us. We don't know what to do with that. And when we're trying to just get back to, I just want to get back to how it was, that's an unrealistic goal. And if we're setting unrealistic goals for ourselves, that's no good. So like it does take that, what are you going to do in that space? Like, and the fact that you called, and even though it was scary, you did it afraid. You did it afraid, and you got tremendous results, and you continue to get tremendous results. So, I mean, I think it's just one of the most beautiful stories of recovery I've seen and heard.
Well, thank you.
You pushed through some very, very challenging and difficult times, because we skimmed through it. But you through 10 years, there's tremendous pain, and there's a lot of hurt, and prior to that, not only were you carrying that sexual trauma, so then you come to the Foundry and you're able to work through that, but also you encountered the loss of your living children, let's just say that. So you found through God and your mom, which is, I mean, your children and your mom, I mean, that's enough right there to, if you wanted to have an excuse to go off the bandwagon, it would be a reasonable one. Let's just say that, okay? I mean, I would be like, yeah, I get it. But you didn't. And that shows your character. It shows the change that God has done. And this is what it's about. It's revealing what God can do through you. And your story is so impactful, because there's so many women out there who lose their kids and experience loss and experience abuse and in all different kind of various forms, and don't think that they can get through it, and don't think that they can push through. But you're right here today are saying that you can, and you are, so I'm proud of you.
Well, thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So did you have a relationship with the Lord before entering the Foundry?
Well, my dad always took us to church when we were younger, but I hate to say it like this, but I didn't really like going. And so when I moved to Tennessee with my mama, I realized then she didn't go, and I was like, "Whoa, I won't have to go to church now." Kind of went rebellious, but long story short, she ended up going to church before I did again, and so that's the church I go to now, the one that her and my stepdad, they've been going there. Well, he's been going about 20 years now, so it all worked out how it was supposed to.
Yeah.
But no, I always thought God turned his back on me, like, well, why is he allowed me to go to jail, and why is he allowing this? But when really he was saving my life and other people's lives, because I could have killed somebody easily, even my own children, So losing my license was probably the best route on that. I was without them for about 5 years, so. But yeah, that's a lot now that I think about it.
Yes, it is.
Yeah, but like when you go back and you look at, like, I don't think we don't realize the magnitude of our life and our story until some of it's behind us. Um, and it's like, oh wow, like that was me. Like that was me in that, and all of the things that have, transpired, because we learn. I believe that, especially when we're people that bury stuff,
Mm-hmm.
um, that it's easy for us to, when we learn how to push it to the side, we keep doing that and it becomes second nature. So we live a life of, we're quiet, we're not talking about it, because it's almost like this: if I don't talk about it, it didn't happen. But that is so far from the truth. Or if, like, if I can just keep, but what is the whole time is just stuff being piled and added, and it's a time, we're ticking time bombs, and in what way that we're going to explode, nobody really knows. And once, when that explosion happens, and whether it comes through, I've walked in addiction for 10 years, or I was, not like this had a grip on me, so I was not making good choices. I'm getting behind the wheel. And then getting in those spaces where you do have to face, charges for things. It's wild how life it comes up on us fast.
Yeah.
And like I said before, it's been 10 years and you've been in this vicious cycle of doing the same thing. And then it's like, when I gotta, maybe I should do something different.
Yeah.
Like, even though it's scary and I don't know what the outcome is, it's got to be better than this.
That's
Yeah. Were you gonna say something, Jamie?
no, I was just waiting on y'all.
No. Yeah. So did anybody have in your family, when you got out, when you were done with the being in a facility rehab part, was there anybody that had a hard time adjusting to the new you?
No, really. Everybody was pretty much proud of me, and they said I was like I used to be before I ever got on drugs, except now, I was not that broken little girl no more. Because I've always tried to be real positive, and, I was just broken back then. But my mom, she was so proud of me, and, I was glad to make her proud.
Good. Well, that's good that nobody had a hard time, adjusting, because I think sometimes when we change, it causes those in our lives a good bit of time to have to, like because it's like, if they've spent all this time, especially if there was any like codependency in the relationship, and they spend a lot of time, like, maybe caring for you, or anything like that, it can be difficult, because then now they don't have anything to do, so to speak.
Yeah, that's good. That's good that you brought that up. I
So
think a
it's like,
lot of
well,
people.
yeah. And then they get frustrated because they're like, well, why are they
Because
still
you
treating
change.
me?
Yeah.
Yeah, still treating me like I used to be, so it's like, I'm not like that anymore.
Yeah.
So why are they still treating me like this? But it's like, well, they haven't adjusted to the new person that you are. So giving them that, space, and kind of helping them to see, like, hey, I am different, I
And this
don't
is my
do the same.
boundary, and you have to
Yeah. You're gonna have to not cross it.
not cross it, okay?
There's a lot of people who didn't think I would be able to change and stay off of drugs, and that, that made me want to hard. Oh,
Mm.
Can y'all still see me?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're
Okay.
still there.
Yeah.
My
You
bad.
said there were people who said you wouldn't get off drugs?
Yeah, I think a lot of people who didn't think I would ever do it. But that made me want to try even harder. So
Well, you showed them.
I,
Yes. And continue to show them. Continue to
So
show
what
them.
is your goals now that I mean, recovery is lifelong. I always say that because I feel like in that for the longest time, even myself, I had this notion that I could go into a treatment facility, get the help I needed, get fixed. And what I have encountered was I would go in, I would get the help or what I would allow them to know or help me with, and then I would leave and honestly I would get back what I had lost or what I thought I'd lost, and then I would burn it again, burn it down to the ground. Because I always think that sometimes getting back what you think you lost, instantly is kind of like a dangerous. And I think what the foundry and what long term treatment allows is for you to have long term and to be able to work through things because it's a process. I always like to say it's a process. It's a process because it's a process, and I'm still going through a process, and it's a and you're still growing. And I mean, I know since I've been home, I mean, I have grown and changed. I mean, my husband Eric can tell you. I mean, I've gone through many changes since I've been sober and been home now, and will continue. And because God's still growing me, I feel like He's growing me up. But I mean, that's basically what happens when you're walking with the Lord. He's maturing you spiritually. So, what does that look like for you since you've been home and now?
well, I don't know. I hadn't really ever thought about it like that. God's really made me grow up a lot. Like, I don't really have those anger issues no more. And I really don't do conflict or nothing like that. I just like to help people and, be of encouragement. But, you do go through a lot of emotions. Miss Tawana told me one time it's okay to go through your emotions, just don't unpack and live there. And that's what I try to tell people. If you need to scream or do whatever, just work through it and then move on. Don't let it tie you down.
I love that.
Yeah. So after I get my Jeep paid off, next year I want to go to school to be a drug and alcohol counselor. That's been like on my heart for a lot of years now. So even in my addiction, I just knew I couldn't do it then. But I would like to help those people who struggle with the same things I have, especially losing your children and any type of abuse, whatever makes you turn to drugs. I just want to show people that, hey, if I can do it, you can.
Mm-hmm.
And I think I'm okay at it.
Oh, you would be great at
Yeah.
it. You're a great listener and you're patient, and I mean, honestly, anybody who would sit in front of you and hear your story just gives hope automatically. I mean, to say, well, I mean, if she can do it, I can do it.
100%. So I encourage you to get in there. I mean, start that. Are you have you explored different schools, or do you know where you want to go to school?
No, I just figured once I got my Jeep paid off and my back child support, of course, then I could really focus on it better, and not have to be working all the time, which I still will work, but I won't have I won't have to work my 40 hours or 48. I could take
Yeah,
it.
absolutely. Well, good for you,
Well,
Jamie.
God will make
I'm
a way.
excited.
Yeah, he,
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, definitely.
Um, because you would be great. I mean,
Mhm.
a true asset. to the counseling world, just because of the experiences that you have. And that's one of the things, like becoming a certified recovery support specialist. Have you ever heard of that? You know what that is?
I don't think so.
Okay, so like a certified recovery support specialist is a person who has had any bout with a substance, whether they went through a treatment facility or a recovery center, or not, to be free from it. It's just that you're free from it now, and willing to identify as a person who had a substance use, issue. And so it's like being a peer support for another person going through that. And they actually have peer run agencies.
Oh,
And like, well, here in I don't know about, because you're in Tennessee, right?
yes, ma'am.
So I'm not sure if they have them in Tennessee, but I know they have them here in Alabama, and they have in Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. But they may have that in your area as well. But that may be an avenue to kind of look into, to see if it's in your state, to get you kind of started in that direction too.
Yeah, I'm
But
not.
I've learned just take action.
Yeah. So I think that would be a cool thing, but just like, because I really do think that and especially like in your area, we get here in Alabama, we get a good amount of people from Tennessee.
Oh, yeah.
So I know that those services could probably be, if they're not already there, would probably be beneficial.
Yeah.
And there's already like, like a model, like, they could look at other states that's doing this too. To let it be, because it's nothing like somebody having, people feel, I think people feel more comfortable sharing,
Absolutely.
their stories with people who they feel like will understand,
Right.
will feel like, oh, well, we might not have had the same, deal, but we might have had some similar things go on. So you're relatable.
Yeah.
And I think that gives people a level of comfort that allows them to be free to open up.
Absolutely. Because I know I've said you don't understand 1,000 times when I was trying to get clean. You don't understand. No one understands me,
Yeah.
I need to be understood.
And there are actually people out here who do.
Right. Yeah. And there are people out
do.
there that get me, that can
Yeah.
understand. And so I just had to find those people.
Yeah. But like, if nobody shares, if nobody's sharing their story, like, we're doing here, people don't know, like they're gonna continue to feel misunderstood, and like, nobody gets this, nobody knows what I'm going through. And that's just the problem with secrecy, like, it just really is. And
It
it's like,
keeps you sick, that's what I always say.
yeah.
It just keeps you sick. It's not healthy. But it came up to me, Jamie, so in your recovery now, you go to church. Do you attend any 12-step meetings?
I haven't in.
Or
I need to get back to doing that. There, for some reason, there's not too many around here anymore. I'm not sure why, but I do have one that I go to on Tuesdays sometimes. But yeah, I like to find the Celebrate Recovery one. So
yeah, I was just curious because with this, we talk about different pathways to recovery, and obviously, there are many ways, and 12-step. I mean, I just think being involved in any kind of way is just healthy to stay in a community of people. So I was just curious if you, because I knew that you did go at some point and attended meetings. So I didn't know if you still did or not.
It's hard to. Most of them's like 8 or 9 o'clock at night, and I get
It's
up.
bedtime.
Yeah.
I'm the same way, girl. I'm the same way.
You got to get up at you said 2:30,
I get up 45 or 3 every morning. Yeah. So, and
What
then
time do you go to bed? I'd have to be in bed at 4.
no, at least 7 or 7:30 because I got to have my people. I have to have 8 hours, or because I don't ever want to get back in the spot where I think I need something to function. So rest is really.
Well, I'm glad that you have that awareness, though.
Oh yeah.
Because I mean, meth, that was your drug of choice. So I mean, you used it because you felt like it helped you accomplish tasks that you never probably completed.
Yeah, exactly right. That the pain pills and the meth, yeah, that was just never ending for me. But and I jobs because I wouldn't have my fix or whatever, and I wouldn't get up and go to work. So I was an expensive drug addict. I had to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah. But like you said, the awareness of knowing like, oh, I need my 8 hours. So that means I've got to be in the bed by 7:30 so I can get up and do what I need to do.
Yeah.
Like that's amazing. That's some amazing structure.
From the foundry. Going
Yes.
Girl, I wouldn't like that. You were, though. You were definitely. I was not as structured as you are. So I kudos to you.
Yeah.
I roll out of bed in my house coat.
But I like how it translates what you took what you were doing there and it moved outside of there with you.
Yeah.
Like I know one of the things that sometimes you can hear is when somebody's in a recovery center is that they feel like they're in a bubble.
Yeah.
And as much as possible, I like to try to pop that. Because because I think that's how the idea of institutionalization comes about. Like I can't take for whatever reason, what I'm learning here doesn't follow me outside the door. But it's like, yeah, like you're learning it. So because you're learning it, it absolutely goes with you. Like I wouldn't go to college and everything that like if I spent 4 years at a university, but once I leave that university, it would be crazy for me to think that, oh, the knowledge that I learned there stays there. Right. No, I learned it. I learned it. It's going with me because I'm going to have to use this in whatever field I've been training for this 4 years, or if I have to take it beyond there and go to the master's level. So it is not going to stay at that location because that's where I learned it. No, I learned it. So it's going with me. And now I have to figure out how to make this help me outside of that space. But I think a lot of times
that's good because I felt like that. I was like, I feel like it's a bubble, and then and in a lot of ways, I mean, I felt like that because I was like, my life is not going to be anything like it in which it is in many ways very different, but the things that keep me structured today is things that I learned there.
Yeah.
And so it's not about, the day in scheduling because that's going to change. I mean, my schedule can change a year from now, schedules change, but it's that foundation is what keeps me structured today.
Yeah. And that you're the one making the choice to do it. Like, because in reality, I don't know that there's a place, a treatment center or a recovery center, or however, somebody may choose to say it. I don't know if there's any of them that haven't maybe had contraband come in.
Oh yeah.
Oh, yeah, all of them do.
Yeah. So it's still you, the individual, having to make the choice to not partake in that.
Oh,
So
definitely.
like,
Because
even if it
it could,
entered the place where you're supposed to be in the bubble,
yeah,
so it's like, yeah,
that's
like it
good.
is.
Because it did. And it does.
Yeah. It's like, but it's you making the choice to not do it. And I think as long as that resonates with you, like, no, I've been making this decision the whole time. So I can still make the decision when I go outside of these, those doors.
What do you think allow or get someone to that place to make that decision? I'm just curious. Like, what is it that makes, I seriously though, what is it that makes us get to that point where enough is enough?
You just gotta get tired of living like that.
Yeah.
I mean, you do the same routine for say 10 years, it gets old.
Mhm.
You're not getting anywhere with it. Just another day down, See what
Mhm.
let me see what my fix is. I
Yeah.
got like that. It was very exhausting.
Because it's not fun anymore. It yeah.
And the reality is, you're never gonna reach that high, the
Yeah.
first one,
Mhm.
like it's
Mhm.
never, you're never gonna experience that. So like, I can see like where it gets to, like, you just gotta get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Yeah.
Like, I think that's when that willingness, kicks in. I know for me with like, I had about a year, maybe maybe a year or a year and a half of where I just drank excessively, and I didn't even realize I drank excessively. But it wasn't until a friend was like, hey, like, you drink all of this. And I'm like, no, I didn't. I didn't do that. Like, I didn't. That wasn't me. I didn't do that. It's
That
just
was
like,
you.
hey, it was you. Like, you did that.
Yeah.
But like, somebody, pointing out to me like, hey, this is a problem, and me kind of, looking at some history, thinking this ain't gonna end well if I don't cut this out.
Yeah.
So the thing. What happened for me was somebody, pointing it out to me, and then me saying, like, kind of evaluating the situation and going, yeah, I need to exit stage left,
Yeah.
concerning this, or this just ain't go, it's not going to be pretty. But I think that you do have to, that for you to get to that place, you have to be just over living like that. Like,
Mhm.
it's not doing anything for me. I'm not even, I'm not even getting what I once did out of this.
It's like
So
maintenance at that point. I
yeah,
mean, for the physical symptoms to cure that, you're
yeah,
basically just trying to feel normal.
yeah,
That's what I want to say. Is like people don't realize is that you're using to feel normal. And I know
yeah.
that sounds like people are like, why would you use substances or drugs to feel normal? Like
But that's what's normal to you. Yeah,
yeah. So then
yeah,
you're having up the quantity just to feel normal in your brain.
yeah. And there's some very abnormal thing, some very
Yes.
abnormal things that have taken place that made
Mhm.
you feel not normal in the first place.
Yeah. Yeah,
I,
that's
Um,
good. Yeah, absolutely.
yeah. So we have to, either way we have to deal with what the root is, like,
Mhm.
what's the real problem? Because the substance ain't it. Like, it
Yeah.
is not the real problem.
Mhm.
But it's like, what's underneath that, and let's get underneath that, and dig and uncover whatever needs to be uncovered, stop running from it, and
Yep.
face it and let it leave us alone. Because it's never gonna, you can't outrun it. Like,
Yeah.
you know, you tried for 10 years, right? To
Yeah.
try to outrun it, you know, and you were just each year you were getting tireder and tired, if that's a word. You were getting more
We can
tired.
make it one.
Just getting more tired each
Today
year.
it is.
Yeah. So it's like, I think that is the place. Like, it's just, you got to get to a place where this is just, it's not doing any, you know,
Mm-hmm.
and then have something that causes you to want to live.
That's it. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
it. That's good too.
Yeah. And recognizing that you're not living, you know, like this is not
Yeah,
living.
this is not living. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Jamie, we appreciate you for your
Yeah.
time and for you sharing your story with us, and to all that will see and hear this. These are raw, unfiltered conversations about pathways to recovery. And I just love that we are doing this, and that
Yes,
we
me
did
too.
this. Yeah. So I just want to say thank you again, and um, you know, maybe we can talk with you again. See.
Yeah, that would be good. I wouldn't be so nervous next time, probably.
Yeah.
I mean, the nervous part. So, but you're welcome. Thank y'all for having me as your first guest.
Yeah,
Yeah.
thank you, Jamie. Your story is very powerful. And so I just thank you for it takes courage to actually share it. So I thank you for doing it for us.
Well, you're
Um,
welcome.
is
Yes.
there anything else that you want to share before we come to a conclusion?
No, I think I about got it all.
Yes.
All right. Well, check out our podcast. We are so thankful for the listeners. And there will be more coming. So just we will keep you updated.
Yes. Stay tuned.
Stay
Stay
tuned.
tuned.
Thank you.